All right, hey, welcome back to the Sloppy Modeler. Welcome back to part 4 of the USS Defiant from Polar Lights Round 2. We are next moving ahead with sealing up the hull. All the lights work very well. Very excited about that. I can actually light that up real quickly here, I believe. And just kind of give you a quick starting point here for the models. So inside of the model here we've got lights for the windows, and I'm very happy how they turned out. Here's my lower strobe. Front Bussard collector, we've got port side red navigation lights, and here's my rear LEDs for the warp engines. Again, green side starboard for navigation lights, red Bussard collector, red and green lights for for navigation, and then finally in the back there we've got really nice impulse engines, and I have cotton stuffed in that. So for the most part, what you're seeing there is the version of that when it is in the raw there, if you will. On top, we have put together, we've put together again our registration light, and then our strobe that's going to go on top, a couple of orange lights, 2 white lights that are going to stay white on the top, and then we have a glowing blue for the warp core, and then glowing red for the impulse engines here, and they're under tape, under primer, so when they come up that should be really quite nice. And then 2 white lights back here for, again, the blinkies and the collision lights. And those 4 were going to be those 2, 3, and 4 for that. My next step is to close up the hull, which means I actually have to pop this bottom piece off. Again, this is a snap together model, but pry it apart, lay in, I'm going to lay in, I think I'm going to do MEK, but I'm not sure, methyl ethyl ketone, because there's quite a bit of paint on there. Then we're going to clamp that together and let that sit. Once that is together, then we're going to move on to inserting things like our rear warp core engines here, and these are going to look dynamite behind there, especially once we get some cotton or fiberfill behind or between the bulb and between the warp core engine. Same thing on the inside front where we've got the Bussard collectors. I'm hoping for the same thing, that should turn out. So again, now we're going to glue this down, and then we'll start finishing up the pylons and warp cores. Once those are done and sealed up, then we can get to painting. So that's our starting point. We do appreciate you coming along with us on this part 4. If you do like what you see, I would really appreciate a like, a share, a subscription. We're trying to grow the channel, and we're growing now really nicely. Very excited about that, and I do appreciate your support. Anything you guys can see here that would make these go a little easier would also be highly appreciated. Like I said, the big key now is to get this glued down and off and running. All right, we will be back with you with the next update. Thanks. Okay, back with you on the Defiant. We have successfully closed up the hull. We do have a few light leaks, like for instance up and through here. That's going to be interesting. I'll have to fill all of that. I didn't notice that till just now, so we'll work through that. But got a light leak there. You know, we might leave it, we're not sure. This sealed up very nicely here, and these across the top have been sealed for quite some time, but we were able to get the lower pylons on. Was able to seal this up pretty well in here, and I think what I'm going to have to do, although I don't like doing it, I'm going to have to fill this in with some microcrystal clear, let it dry, and then spray over that or brush over that with the Tamiya Dark Sea Gray there. So we've got a little bit of filling to do there, but all in all, pretty good. Pretty nice seam across here. That's ready to actually start sanding here in a bit. Got to fill that. And then in the back, kind of the same thing. We've got a little bit of light leaks here and here. but I think we'll make progress. I really like the way that those turned out. Between the LED and this back piece here, I did put in some cotton, and same thing up here. Same thing up here on the front. Yeah, same thing here on the front. Behind those Bussard collectors, we've got cotton there to diffuse that. But we're going to do one more step for diffusal as well, or diffusing. Again, the lights are working really, really nice, and now that we've got all this closed up, it's a matter of seams, light blocking, and then sanding and getting started with the painting. A fresh coat of primer over the whole bit here. But so that Bussard collectors is the next thought that I had. These are clear Bussard collectors, and they do fit over. Those spots like so, and that is not going to get it done because you're going to see behind it. So what my intent is to do is to put a light coat of just white primer, matte coat of white primer on the back sides of these. Grab my other one here just to kind of show you what we're doing and what we're up against. Yeah, so I think that's going to give us nice red because I'm seeing it come through actually already on the edges. So I'm going to go into the paint booth and spray white primer just on the backs of those, so that that'll diffuse light across the entire Bussard collector, rather than just having my two spots there. But I think I've got enough light in there to make that happen. If I don't, I can always pull that cotton out of that and then see where we go. The other challenge we might have is if you look closely at that Bussard collector, it's got two clips that clip into there, and then behind those clips are these two holes here and here, and I think that might lead to a sore spot. I think that might lead to a sore spot on that. So what I might do is clip off those clips and then just glue this down to its location where it goes. So let me work on that a little bit and we'll be back. But again, very, very pleased with how this has come together from a light perspective and getting closed up. So we will be back with you shortly. Thank you. All right, hey, we're going to talk about microcrystal clear and my gap filling technique that I have started to use, and I really like it. So for example, we've got a gap right here where that insert fits into the nacelle, and there's also a gap right there that I do not like. This gap looks pretty good, that gap looks pretty good, so I think we're good there. But we've got it on both sides. There's significantly a gap up here. So what I'm going to do is I've got microcrystal clear, and I actually use one of these fine line applicator Resistapens to keep that clean and to keep it clear. So to get this started, very, very fine. And just laying in, try to do this back on camera here, just laying in some microcrystal clear. And the nice thing about microcrystal clear typically is it's got enough surface tension that it will fill small gaps and stay in where you wanted it. And then just, again, same thing. And this gap is not bad, but we're just going to put a little bit of So, and then if you want, you can come back with a Q-tip if you see something that's kind of out of luck. But that is the one side. Same thing with the other here. We've got a gap along this section here. That's not bad actually, but we've got a gap in here. And again, just trying to fill this in. And I don't think I could do this with putty. As a matter of fact, I know I couldn't do this with just putty. It just would not look good. But with this real fine applicator and a little bit of microcrystal clear, you're just never going to see this gap. And it does tend to be self-leveling at the same time. So with the self-leveling, the surface tension, and all of the rest, I think I'm real good with that. So I'm going to leave that to dry. And here's the big thing: clean that tip off. And seal that up tight so that your microcrystal clear doesn't dry out. Alright, just a quick example of how I gap fill in a hurry. And then the second advantage is that you can easily spray over that for light blocking if you have light leaks coming through out of the front of that. So that is, and this is my handy dandy special drawing stand, designed and built specifically for this application. But you can see that this is already starting to flow out nicely, and as a result I think it's going to be a really nice gap filling solution for these little tiny gaps that would take sanding and filling and sanding and priming. This is just an easy, quick way to do that, and you'll never see it. Alright, I'll be back with you. Thanks. Alright, hey, welcome back to the Defiant model. Lots in progress. Very, very excited about what we just went through. So I just put its first real coat of primer over the whole thing. I have, what I did here was use my Micro Mark fine line mask here in the blue areas, which I had previously unmasked, and then I went in and filled in that seam, and I just, even primer, I'm so happy with the way that turned out. So that's exciting. So seam work, we've got seams here, here, here. Same thing on this side to go through. Seams on this are getting there, but they've got some work to do on those. Same thing with this seam here. This is pretty good front and back, but this side seam needs some work. The bullet nose is in good shape. Very excited about that. The underneath, the primer really looks nice, so I'm very pleased there. And again, more seams on here, this side there, and across it. So my first line of defense for seams, the first line of defense there is I grab a brush. I'll just grab this one here, and by the way, this is the mask set from, I think it's from the Enterprise, no, this is from the JJ Prize. I remember these, but these have a ton of little checks and squares and circles in it, and it's great for masking off lights and things like that. And Lou, I know you may never see this, but boy, I'll tell you, it sure would be nice to just do a thing of stripes, of little tiny circles this size, doodads, just like general purpose stuff, not for any kit, but just, it would just really be nice to have something like that to pick and go. It does make things a lot faster and easier. So, my go-to for filling seams out of the gate, besides just the microcrystal clear, which you just saw, and I'm going to use this for reference here, the one I did earlier. These seams still have a bit of seam, but they're actually pretty decent for what we've attained here. The seams on these sides are really good. On the front, actually pretty good. Where we get a breakdown is here towards the back. So my next step for the seams is to take this Mr. Hobby 1500 Mr. Finishing Surface 1500 Gray, and what I use that for, I'm not sure if, look at this, very nice, is as a seam filler or as a heavy primer build, right? So filling this in and then just coming along and filling in that seam there with primer, and you see it's got kind of a self-leveling effect. However, you do have to watch it because it will also sink into, it'll sink into your crevasse, if you will, and that causes some challenges. So what I typically do is put one coat on and let it dry, and then before I start sanding on it, I put another coat on. This is going to take quite a bit of seam work here. I can already see that. It's going to take a lot more than just one coat. But this is a good start. Just a little build up right along that edge, right along that seam, and it also gives you a nice surface too at the same time that you can work with, because now you can see that that's kind of got a gloss to it. But you can also see that this one here, it actually contoured to the divot, so you gotta be careful here. It's just it's a first go, if you will. So then coming back along here, we'll come on this. This side's actually a lot better than the other side. Still not perfect yet. Same thing. So it's just filling in, because it doesn't need putty. Putty is too aggressive for as fine of a seam as that is. So we'll come along here with this, and you might have to scribe a line or two here and there, even like on this edge, trying to get that filled in, and then around the back. Again, you could spend, weeks, days, months doing this, but I don't have that kind of lifestyle or time that I can afford to put into this. But this is a nice, quick solution for those seams. This one on the other side. So already you can see that that one right there has already it's sunk into that contour, right? And if we go to the other side where it's almost probably virtually getting dry, same thing. You've got the seam is showing up, but what I'm doing is putting a foundation in there with this coat, and then, like I said, I'll come back before I even start sanding on this. I'll put another coat of this on. It's a bit hard to sand, but you can use a little more aggressive sandpaper. But that is first step in filling in those seams using, again, Mr. Hobby, Mr. Finishing Surfacer 1500 Gray. And that is not water wash up. You need some kind of spirits. I keep a little bottle of MEK here on the desk, and believe me, when I use this bottle, I make sure that I'm holding on to it in order to prevent a unfortunate spill or accident. But it does clean up your brush pretty quickly again. It gets it decent shape for the next round. And it dries fairly quickly. Tightly kept that. So that's where the Defiant is at the moment. And when we come back, we're going to have another coat on this, and then we'll get the sanding started on those seams. And once those seams are sanded, then we'll start the process of painting. So, but really kind of very pleased with the way that this came together. I don't know if I can light this up or not. Probably not. I don't know if it'll make a difference anyways, that you can see it through the primers. I'm kind of always interested to see what it looks like in different conditions. Oh yeah, so you can see the reds, greens, whites, oranges. You can see the blues coming through in the back, greens here, reds on that side. So yeah, she still lights up, which is pretty nice. I should say I'm very pleased that it's lit up that well. SARD collectors are ready to go. They need SARD collectors need definitely need some cotton in those, but I am not seeing any light leaks in those front Bassard collectors because of using my microcrystal clear. That seam is really a nice shape, and in the back where you've got an even more powerful LED, I'm not seeing any light leaks around that seam except for this one right here. So what I'll do is I will use probably a little gray primer, maybe a little tulip, but for the most part I think we're well underway with what we've got there. So yeah, there's just a little bit of a light leak there, but very happy with what happened by using that microcrystal clear, and then that's just one coat of gray primer over it. Alright, we'll be back. Well, hey, welcome back to the USS Defiant. We're making really some pretty nice progress now at this stage. I do have some things ready to tape off. So one of the challenges with this is I've got a hull color that is called polished cement, and the polished cement hull color is just that. It's got a lot of gray to it, a lot of light, like a pale gray almost. And I know that if I went with a real dark navy blue or royal blue on this first dark blue pass, that that would not be, it would be way too much contrast, right? So what we've done here is I started with titanium, and I sprayed these areas that are under tape at the moment. A little top and bottom, there's tape there, here. And so that titanium is the first go around. And then I'm going to have to hand brush in some titanium after we get the other stuff on. We'll see how that goes. I now have all that titanium brushed, taped over. I then went in and used a little bit of this color shift green acrylic paint. So you can get it at this is Dragon Flash, Dragon Brilliant is what it's called. It's a very cool color. And taping off this these front panels here, then I went in with that Dragon Brush Green and basically have filled in by brush the area. So just so it looks like that's got a little bit of electricity behind it. We are here with our taped in, and then we went in with our first dark blue, and with the dark blue I went in and hit all of these areas like here, here, there, just some other spots around here. So we'll see how this goes over time, but we are just getting started with that. Then the next step is to go in with my tape and tape over these areas that now have dark blue. Now, what I really like about this particular model, and I'm not sure, I like all the really deep recessed panel lines. I don't know if they're in scale or not, but I really like that because it makes it easy to tape off. Now, the challenge is my understanding, I haven't looked at it yet, is that this might have raised panel lines on some of it. So I don't know, but we'll get to that when we get to that on the 1/420th scale. So my next step is to start taping off the blue, and I think I need to go darker blue on a couple of these. But again, super contrast against that pale concrete is already going to be pretty bright contrast. So I'm trying to keep this in a family that's not so just stark and startling. So we're going to continue with the painting, and once we've got some more of this taped off, we will continue with the next color. All right, see you in a bit. Okay, welcome back to the Defiant, and you might be asking yourself, what in the world are we looking at there? And that is about 10 hours of painting and taping, and even then I don't think I'm quite done. But what you see here is that we started with our darkest blue and painted certain panels, and then a lighter blue, medium blue rather, painted certain panels, a light blissful blue, and painted more panels. And then I went back. I didn't quite like how light some of it was, so I went and did these dark panels here on some of the top and some of the bottom. And at each time, I've gone back through and spray a panel and then tape it off and then go to the next spray. And so some of this has been on here for about 4 or 5 days. Hopefully we won't have a problem with pulling the tape up, but using that Styrolines primer from Badger, I have not had paint peel up, so hopefully we don't get too far afield from that. Some of the experiments I did with around the front here, I am just going to paint this with my polished concrete, and then we'll touch that up with the actual brush. And then also a lot of the photo etch parts with parts like these here, here, wherever there's photo etch on there, and it's a lot of photo etches under the tape. I'm just going to spray over that with my polished concrete and then come back with my phaser bank color. And I'm not sure what that's going to be yet. I was doing silver, but I think that there's a better choice from that. Last one is 2 pieces of tan that are back behind the bridge here. It matches the tan that is up on the torpedo bay, but that needs to sit for a couple of hours before I tape over it. And then once that's taped, then I can go in with, I think what I'm going to do is go back in with a coat of primer and reprime the whole thing just to get a solid base coat. I'm not sure on that, but that might be an option. And then we'll come back in and spray my color of polished concrete, and then the detaping begins, and that's going to be kind of fun, kind of exciting. We'll see how that goes, and we may have to do some touch-ups after that. But this has been a lot of fun, and I received this this burnisher with this B700. And I think it's meant to be a glue applicator. However, I have found that these make excellent burnishers, and it came with 4 or 5 different sizes, and because of that, I really have been able to get into different grooves. I've used primarily this really super fine 0.1, but the nice thing is that I haven't been having a problem with tearing my tape. It just really presses those down into the corners. Oh, there's 5 of them actually, so I think these are my 2 finest points here. But very, very pleased with those and their use, and they're colorful, which is kind of nice. But so that's what I've been using on all of these deep grooves. Obviously, it wouldn't work on a raised panel line as well, but that's okay. So we're going to go let this last piece here, these last tan pieces, dry up. Got a little more time to it here, and then we will be back with the coat of polished concrete. And I hope I haven't overdone it, but I think you can see here on this one how much, there's lots of panels that are painted on this. This was a long couple of weeks of taping and painting and going after it. You can kind of maybe see all the different colors and paints and so forth, but yeah, that was just a lot of work, and I didn't want to go quite that extreme, but I think we're still going to see a nice polished concrete as the overall color of the Defiant with the new style. And I still like the work there. That was kind of a labor of love when I did this one. But we shall see. We shall see how we turn out. And then when we come back, we'll be in progress. All right, I will be back with you. All right, hey, welcome back to the USS Defiant. We have made lots of progress here, and very excited about what we're seeing. Everything is under tape, under mask, if you will, and we have put our coats of the polished concrete on here, and I'm very pleased with what I'm seeing already. The next step is to unmask everything, and then I think what we're going to do is lay a coat of this iridescent top coat acrylic, which is blue, over the top of the entire model. And I'll tell you why. This has got a lot of blue in it, and it's going to be a lot of contrast. And I think the key to doing this is to unmask everything. That'll give me all my blues, and then this will act hopefully as a blending coat. I'm going to test that before we do it, but that is kind of the goal. Lots of hours of tape and spraying one at a time, and then having this thing go put more work into it. So very pleased with it so far. Next step is to untape, and then we'll get this coat of iridescent on, hopefully some blue, and then finally what we will get is start the decals. But we're going to leave that for the next update. So this is going to bring this update to a close. Thanks for coming along with me, and if you like what you see, hit that like and subscribe button, share, and if you think someone is building the Defiant, you can show them this, and hopefully we can get there. So let's get to untaping, and we will go from there. I will see you in the next one. Thanks.